My neighbor knocked at 2 a.m., and changed everything. We were both afraid to love again. Until that night. The first time my neighbor asked me if I knew how to love someone without leaving. I couldn't breathe for a second. Not because it was bold. But because she asked it like someone who had already been abandoned too many times. And I realized she wasn't flirting. She was asking for proof that staying was real. I moved into that building after what I call a quiet ending. No shouting. No dramatic betrayal. Just a slow fading. The woman I almost married didn't leave with a fight, she left with indifference. And that kind of silence is louder than anything. By the time I signed the lease in that worn-down brick building in Portland, I had already convinced myself that love was temporary by design. Routine became my shield. Work. Microwave dinners. Late-night hallway walks that smelled like detergent and other people's lives. That's when I started hearing her. Her name was Alara, though I didn't learn that until later. At first she was just footsteps at 2 a.m. A door closing too carefully, crying she tried to muffle but couldn't. She carried herself like someone bracing for impact. The first crack. One evening she dropped a grocery bag outside my door. Oranges rolled across the hallway. We both bent to pick them up. And in that strange, suspended moment of accidental closeness, she said quietly, "You look like someone who wouldn't disappear halfway through loving someone." I almost laughed. If she only knew. Then she asked if I was married. I said no. And admitted something I hadn't said out loud before, "I think I'm still waiting." For what? She asked. I didn't have the courage to answer. Slow burn. After that, we stopped pretending we were strangers. It started small. She borrowed a screwdriver and returned it 2 days later with homemade soup. I fixed her kitchen light. She left tea outside my door when I got sick. But it was never about repairs. It was about presence. I started noticing things. How her hands shook when her phone buzzed. How she flinched when someone laughed too loudly in the corridor. How exhaustion hid beneath her makeup. One night the power went out in the building. The hallway filled with phone flashlights and nervous chatter. Her apartment stayed dark. Too dark. I knocked. It took a long time before she opened the door. Her face was swollen from crying. That was the night she told me about the marriage she escaped. About years of being reduced to something small. About love that came with conditions. About affection that felt like a transaction. She left with one suitcase and no plan. Freedom, she said, felt terrifyingly empty. The turning point. After that, we stopped dancing around the truth. We ate takeout on the floor. Sat in silence without needing to fill it. One evening she asked why I said I was still waiting. This time, I answered. I told her about the woman I almost married. About choosing furniture together for a future that vanished. About realizing she had emotionally left months before physically moving out. About standing alone in a shared apartment that suddenly felt borrowed. And I admitted something I was ashamed of, I stopped believing people stay. Alara looked at me and said softly, "Then maybe we don't need forever. Maybe we just need someone who doesn't run when it gets uncomfortable." That hit harder than any dramatic confession ever could. Rising tension. It wasn't easy. Some days she withdrew completely. Some nights I questioned whether opening up again was just volunteering for another loss. There were moments we almost retreated back behind our walls. But we didn't. Her laughter slowly became real. My apartment stopped feeling temporary. We started talking about next month. Then next season. Then, what if? The night everything changed wasn't dramatic. No confessions. No music swelling in the background. She knocked on my door. No broken light. No excuse. Just honesty. "I don't want to be alone with my memories tonight." And for the first time in years, neither did I. We sat on the couch in the dark. Not trying to fix each other. Not promising eternity. Just choosing not to leave. I used to think I was waiting for something extraordinary. But I was wrong. I was waiting for someone who understood that staying is an action. Not a feeling. Not a promise. An action. And sometimes the bravest love isn't the one that rescues you. It's the one that sits beside you in the dark and says, I'm still here.